In this episode, we're going to take a look at a scrapped 50-watt carbon dioxide laser cutter and see if it's a candidate for refurbishment. So we're out in the shed here with a very large used second-hand K40 style Chinese laser cutter and engraver. I picked this up for about 60 bucks because it doesn't work. There's a failed stepper motor in there, and honestly the control system probably needs dealing with as well, but here it is. Let's take a look at some of this stuff. I've got with it a tube. This isn't a spare tube, this is actually the old tube. But I thought we'd take a look at this. We'll see if autofocus will pick it up. So this is the replacement tube. It's about 80 centimeters long or thereabouts, maybe a meter. Again, this doesn't work anymore. It's almost up to air. I've actually tested this, and you get a plasma glow, but only at a very, very high voltage across the electrodes. I'm surprised these tubes last any amount of time at all, because the mirrors that are on these are actually epoxied on. And we'll take a look at the output coupler end, dripping water everywhere there. Yeah, these are actually epoxy sealed. They're not glass to metal seals at all, so, you know, kind of cheap and nasty. I believe that you can pick up CO2 laser tubes from China now where they've got glass to metal seals on the end, which are a lot more robust than these. I'm not going to break this up though, because I suspect that we can maybe dissolve the epoxy with, I don't know, maybe soak the ends of this thing in acetone, pop the mirrors off, and then I have all of the glasswork necessary to actually build a sort of flowing gas CO2 laser. So I don't think I'm going to throw this out at all. Leave some comments down below if you think I should try and resurrect this as a flowing gas CO2 laser. I think that'd make an interesting extra project. For now, let's take a look at this thing and see what we've actually got. I've got the original controller here. I've actually removed this from the housing because it didn't come with a cable, so I've sort of rather jankily hacked one on here. It's just serial, more or less. It says it's an HMI interface, like human machine interface, but basically it's a serial connection. So that's that fixed. So we've got the usual stuff on the front. We've got a key switch here. We've got a lighting switch. We've got an emergency stop button, all sorts of bits and pieces. And then we've got the control electronics themselves. Let's take a close look at those. So let's have a quick look at the internals of this thing. There isn't really much to it. At the back here in the large case, we've got the high voltage power supply, which will generate about 25 to 35,000 volts for the CO2 laser tube. It's a connection on the back that supports PWM, so presumably we can control the power. We have a couple of switch mode power supplies at the back. All of these check out, by the way. We've got a little 5-volt supply down here and a 24-volt supply as well. In front of that, we've got a pair of stepper motor controllers. These are M420s for anyone playing along at home. They look like pretty decent pieces of kit, so I'll probably leave those as is. At the front here, we've got the devil's work. This is a Litro controller. So it's a Chinese manufacturer, which isn't to say it's bad, but this particular controller has a lot of bad press on the internet, has to be said, and looking at the information I can find, they're actually pretty poor. If anybody wants the part number, if you're playing along at home, it's an MPC 6515C. Yeah, these things will only work with a very specific piece of software. It's called Laser Cut 5.3. You have to have a dongle to get it to work with the software. The software is really very old. It runs on things like Windows XP. We've got a couple of options for replacing this thing. I'm looking at perhaps replacing it with either the Mini Gerbil boards or Mini Gerbil boards, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Or the Cohesion 3D board. So here's a question for you guys. Which do you reckon is better, the Mini Gerbil or the Cohesion 3D? You know, put it down in the comments down below and give me some advice on that one. I'm sort of 50-50 on the two at the moment, but yeah, this controller is definitely going to come out. So here's the bed of the laser cutter itself. When I first got this, it was absolutely caked in tar and all sorts of residue from cutting and burning wood, basically. So I've spent a lot of time cleaning this stuff off with barbecue cleaner, and it seems to have come up really quite well. The actual fault with this laser as I received it was that the Y-axis no longer worked and the stepper motor had failed. And the guy gave me the old stepper motor, there it is, and he actually gave me a new stepper motor as well. So that's actually installed. We'll say installed in quotes, right? It's installed and the ends of the wires are twisted together for testing. But yeah, so far so good, right? So the Y-axis now works, and well, we'll have a look at the rest of it shortly. But yeah, I thought it was really unusual that a stepper motor would actually fail. A driver failing I could understand, but stepper motor failures, I can't remember the last time I've ever had one of those. But it is what it is, and it's definitely failed. So just before we move on, I mean, the rest of this has all been cleaned up and works quite well. I've got a little knob here which actually raises and lowers the bed, which is our focus, which is a bit janky, but it is what it is. The axes are both free, so the x-axis is free and the y-axis is free, and everything seems to be good. The optics are relatively clean, but honestly, all this stuff needs properly stripped. The mirrors need removed and cleaned up. There is another issue here with the air assist. We've got an air assist hose, but it's got what appears to be a 3D printed air assist, which did clamp onto the side of the mirror at one point in its life, and obviously the heat and you know, noxious gases from the wood have destroyed it, and it's sort of collapsed and fallen to bits. So we need to sort out something for an air assist for this. So I've got this powered up just now so we can see what it does and doesn't do. Hopefully the microphone's picking up me more than the pumps and all the rest of the stuff running in the background. So this is the janky controller. If we go into the menu, we can set the laser pulse width length for the laser test. And I've currently got this set here to 20 milliseconds at 100%, so we can just give it a quick blast and see what happens. So I have the interlock defeated just now, and we'll give the laser a quick test. And we should be able to see a little tiny flash on the surface of the wood there. Awesome. Let's crank that up. So I've just turned this up to half a second duration, so 500 odd milliseconds, and we'll just give it another test. And we've got a fire there. Awesome. So since I've replaced the y-axis motor, we'll give this thing a quick test. As I've said before, there's an awful lot of cleaning needs to be done in here and probably some realignment of the optics, but we'll see what we get out of it anyway. Excellent. That's fair ripping through that. Very, very nice. It looks like we might have a winner. So in order to make a determination on the quality of the beam here, what we're going to do is interrupt the beam path. So the laser beam exits from the CO2 laser at the back of the unit into a turning mirror over in the corner there. That's bounced off of this mirror and then off into the head. So if I put a piece of paper in the way of the beam and just give it a quick burst, we should be able to get an image of our beam profile burned into the paper. So this is rather concerning. We're actually making rings, and the rings are actually appearing from the end of the CO2 laser tube. It's not an artifact of any of the mirrors. So this is, you know, kind of disturbing. There's a couple of reasons for this. Either the tube is that aged that that's it, and it's on its way out, and there's very little we can do about it. I mean, it could be mirror alignment in the tube, but there's very little we can do about that if they're epoxied on there. The other possibility I was sort of thinking about was the water itself. So this laser won't actually power up at all unless we've got water circulating in it. And all I've done is stuck a circulating pump in a bucket of water underneath the laser itself. I've actually just used tap water for this test because I need to go out and buy a bunch of deionized water. It's possible, I suppose, although somebody correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, it's possible, I suppose, that because I'm using tap water is really quite conductive and it's drawing the discharge towards the edges of the bore of the tube, and maybe that's why we're getting a ring, or maybe the tube's gubbed or whatever. But we've got kind of a half-working CO2 laser. I mean, buying a new tube is not going to be the greatest expense I'll make, I suppose, if I want to refurbish this thing, but we'll see. So I've taken the back cover off here, and it's quite evident that this needs a real clean. It's full of dust and sawdust and all sorts of things. But here's the laser tube itself. This is manufactured 2019 and it's rated 50 watts. Just the same as the other one, the mirrors are actually epoxied onto the end of the tube, so I don't suppose that the tube life for this is going to be particularly long, you know, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 hours or something. Also, I can see, but you might not see on camera, that the bore itself is actually clear, and I would have expected it to be discoloured along the length of the bore, and the reason for that is on high-end CO2 laser tubes, they actually coat the inside of the bore with gold, and it actually looks kind of pinkish to me. They coat it with gold, and the gold is there to recombine the carbon monoxide. So when a CO2 laser tube fires, it actually will dissociate the carbon dioxide into carbon monoxide, which isn't very useful for lasing. And the idea of the gold catalyst in the tube is to recombine the carbon monoxide and oxygen back into CO2. But yeah, it doesn't have that, so I don't suppose that the lifetime of these things is very long at all. Still, let's see this thing fire. We'll see if we can capture that on camera. It won't look very exciting. We'll just get a sort of pinkish bluish glow, but let's do it. Awesome. Excellent. Very, very nice. So I think for the most part this old Chinese laser cutter is actually in serviceable condition. You know, if I spend a bit of time and get some new parts for it, we should be able to make this into a useful workshop tool. The controller itself, as I've already said, is a piece of junk, so I'm going to replace this with either the Mini Gerbil or the Cohesion 3D. Put it in the comments down below if you think one or both of those is the better deal. If you know of any other controllers that, you know, are in the $100 to $150 price range and you think they're better than either the Mini Gerbil or the Cohesion 3D, put those in the comments down below as well. I'd be pretty interested in reading up about those. But yeah, like I say, I think we'll be able to put this to work and actually get it to do something useful. Thanks for watching this episode of Les's Lab. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.